making headlines this hour. First Lady Sajida Mohammed inaugurates the art exhibition Vivid Realism by Hussein at a special function held at National Art Gallery. In a major move to boost regional tourism and connectivity, the national carrier Maldivian officially launches scheduled seaplane flights to Velidu in Nuno Atoll. And Education Minister Dr. Ismail Shafiu says the government has spent an unprecedented amount on school repairs over the last 2 years, surpassing expenditure from the previous decade.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. First Lady Sajida Mohammed inaugurates the art exhibition Vivid Realism by Hussein at a special function held at the National Art Gallery. The exhibition features works that reflect Hussein Ali Manik's artistic portrayal of Maldivian traditions and way of life, displaying a total of 15 artworks. These include 7 digital artworks and 7 oil paintings, all reflecting the national spirit. As part of the ceremony, the First Lady also unveiled Vivid Realism, My Journey Through the Colors of a Nation, a publication that brings together the artist's works in print. Following the inaugural function, the First Lady toured the exhibition and signed the guest book at the National Art Gallery. Hussein's exhibition will run from the 23rd to the 30th of January at the National Art Gallery, open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day except Sundays, and from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays. According to an end-of-year report from the Ministry of Finance and Planning, in a significant demonstration of fiscal consolidation, the Maldives Sovereign Development Fund, or SDF, deposits reached $175.1 million by the end of 2025.
This marks a striking 91.2% increase from the previous year's total of $90.8 million, a surge that significantly bolsters the nation's financial security and its ability to meet future debt obligations. This growth in the Critical Reserve Fund was propelled by a remarkable improvement in the nation's fiscal health. The government reported a substantial reduction in its budget deficit, which plummeted by 73.5% from $849.5 million in 2024 to just $227 million in 2025. This was achieved through a combination of robust revenue generation and stringent control over public expenditure. A key driver was tax revenue, which exceeded budget estimates by 5.5% to reach $1.89 billion, fueled in part by a thriving tourism sector. The government records indicate that 2.24 million tourists visited in 2025, generating foreign exchange earnings of $1.2 billion. Conversely, total government expenditure was curtailed to $2.79 billion, a 10.6% decrease from a previous year. While recurrent expenditures, including costs from public servant salary harmonization policy, rose to $2.35 billion, capital expenditure saw a sharp decline of 48.8% to $441 million. The ministry noted that available funds were strategically directed towards priority infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, and airport development. The ministry emphasized that the accelerated build-up of the SDF is a vital step in safeguarding the stability of the Maldives' small, open economy against potential external shocks, signaling a positive trajectory for international investors and financial institutions.
In a major move to boost regional tourism and connectivity, the national carrier Maldivian officially launches scheduled seaplane flights to Velidu in Nuno Atoll. The inauguration, held at a special ceremony on the island, fulfills a key pledge made by President Dr. Mohamed Muiz during his visit to the island last July. The inaugural event was attended by the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mohammad Said, the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Mohammad Amin, and senior officials from Island Aviation Services Limited, or IASL, Maldivian Airlines parent company. To facilitate the new service, a dedicated seaplane platform has been developed in Validu, and a special passenger lounge has been set up within the Validu Island Council office for check-in and waiting. The historic first flight, carrying 15 passengers comprising both locals and tourists, departed for Male at 2:40 p.m. following a check-in that began at 1:40 p.m. The service will operate twice weekly with flights scheduled every Wednesday and Friday. In a promotional offer, Maldivian has introduced a special one-way fare of $65. This new airlink marks a crucial step in expanding the tourism sector in Nuna Atoll. President Muiz had promised that the scheduled flights would continue until a planned airport is developed in the nearby island of Vihavaru, ensuring sustained accessibility and economic growth for the region. In a significant move to bolster regional connectivity, Maldivian, the national airline, is set to launch a new domestic flight network linking the four southernmost atolls.
Scheduled to commence operations on 1st February, this initiative promises to transform travel for residents and boost the local tourism economy. The new service will connect the airports in Adu City, Fuamula, Gulf Lif Atoll Kudu, and Gulf Dal Atoll Kadeddu. Maldivian will operate 5 key routes designed to make Adu City a central hub for air travel in the region. The flights will be serviced by 15-seat Twin Otter aircraft, the same small planes used for domestic seaplane operations. Bookings for the new routes are now open with competitive pricing announced to ensure accessibility. Fares start from just $32.43 for the Gun to Formula route, with other key sectors like Formula to Kudu and Kadeddu priced at $42.15. The longer routes from Gun to Kadeddu and Kudu are set at $58.37. This development is a direct implementation of the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation's policy to strengthen regional transport infrastructure. The airline emphasizes that the new network will provide immense relief to southern residents, greatly facilitating private travel, access to education, and essential services. It will also streamline medical travel through Adu City. Beyond public convenience, the flights are expected to provide a major boost to regional tourism industry. The enhanced connectivity will allow tourists to easily island hop, creating new opportunities for local resorts, guest houses, and tourism service providers across the southern atolls.
Education Minister Dr. Ismail Shafiu says that the government has spent an unprecedented amount on school repairs over the last 2 years, surpassing expenditure from the previous decade.
Various structural development projects are underway across schools in many regions of the Maldives. Efforts are being made to improve the quality of education provided in schools, including improving teacher quality, expanding resources, and resolving space constraints. While new schools continue to be built, the Education Ministry is also prioritizing the repair and maintenance of existing schools. Speaking to PSM News, the Education Minister said the government spent over $1.95 million on school repairs in 2024 alone. Meanwhile, repairs worth over $1.29 million were approved to coincide with the last school break. He said at the beginning of this year, over $2.59 million had already been spent on school repairs, with projects worth another $2.59 million to be approved when the school year begins. The Education Minister said the significant expenditure on school repairs is due to long-standing issues being neglected. He said this necessitated major repairs funded outside the regular school budget. The minister stressed that the most important factor is having high-quality teachers in school. He added that with sufficient resources, students across all islands will be able to achieve strong academic results.
Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation Abdullah Rafiu describes the 232 sports projects being implemented across the nation as an important investment for the future.
The government has launched a $38.9 million mega project to establish fitness and recreation centers and outdoor gyms in all islands of the Maldives to improve public health. Speaking on the initiative, the minister said the project is aimed at creating a healthier and happier society. Noting the significant spending on the project, the minister said that investment in physical activity will reduce long-term government spending, adding that every cent spent on promoting fitness can save several cents in healthcare and related costs, a trend observed globally. Minister Rafiu said the ministry's focus covers three areas: sports, fitness and recreation, with the goal of ensuring good health for all age groups. This greatly increases the size of ministry's portfolio as investment is needed for every island, he said. Citing World Health Organization data, the minister said more than 50% of the Maldives' population is overweight, with rising non-communicable diseases and mental health issues. He said regular exercise can help prevent such diseases and improve mental well-being. The fitness centers and outdoor gyms are also expected to strengthen social ties by encouraging community interaction through sports and exercise. While the project is progressing rapidly, some delays have occurred in a few islands due to land shortages. However, the government remains committed to completing it as planned.
The Maldives Industrial Fisheries Company Limited, or MIFCO, disperses more than $72,000 to local fishermen since commencing its yellowfin tuna procurement in December last year, marking a significant step in supporting the nation's vital fishing sector.
While initial purchases began on 18 December, MIFCO officially expanded operations on 11 January by acquiring larger yellowfin tuna weighing over 10 to 15 kilograms at a fixed price of $1.62 per kilogram. The company is currently sourcing fish between 10 kilograms and 15 kilograms from key locations, including Kudu, Adu City Formula, Tinadu, and Gaddu. Fishermen are now guaranteed payment within 48 hours, fulfilling the government promise to address long-standing financial delays previously experienced while selling to private buyers. From 18 December 2025 to 21st January 2026 alone, MIFCO released $72,766.21 to fishermen, providing much-needed relief. This initiative is centered at the newly repurposed 4-hectare Kanduagiri facility in Felivaru, which formerly processed lifestyle and ready-to-eat seafood products. The move is part of a broader government-MIFCO collaboration aimed at stabilizing the yellowfin tuna market, enhancing fishery sustainability and resolving key challenges faced by fishermen who had long struggled with late payments and limited access to institutional buyers.
Dialysis services is launched at the Atoll Hospital in Kota Hovadu in Dal Atoll. The service was officially inaugurated by Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim at a special ceremony. Kidney patients typically require dialysis 2 to 3 times a week, with each session lasting about 4 hours. The new facility can treat up to 3 patients at a time. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, the health minister said the introduction of dialysis services will benefit residents of Kota Hovadu and other islands in the atoll. He noted that the service will reduce the need for long-distance travel for treatment. He added that dialysis services have now been established in 10 islands over the past 2 years, with the government aiming to expand the service to all atolls during its current term. The initiative is part of the government's efforts to ensure equal access to healthcare across the country. Looking at updates in the business world, TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance finalizes a deal to set up a majority American-owned joint venture company to avoid a U.S. ban on the popular social media app used by more than 200 million Americans.
The deal is a milestone for a short video app after years of battles that began in August 2020, when President Donald Trump first tried unsuccessfully to ban the app over national security concerns.
I think, look, we have a lot of interest in TikTok, and China is going to play a role, and so hopefully China will approve of the deal, but they're going to play a role. But we have a lot of interest in TikTok.
The company said TikTok USD's joint venture LLC will secure US user data, apps, and the algorithm through data privacy and cybersecurity measures. The agreement provides for American and global investors, including cloud computing giant Oracle, private equity group Silver Lake, and Abu Dhabi-based MGX to hold a stake of 80.1% in the new joint venture, while ByteDance will retain 19.9%.
Sberbank, Russia's biggest bank turned technology conglomerate, takes a major stake in leading electronics producer Element Oz Moscow, pushes for sovereignty in the production of the high-tech components needed for the war in Ukraine.
Western nations have restricted Russia's access to critical technology, including semiconductors and microelectronics. But Ukraine has warned that Russia is increasingly able to replace smuggled Western components with its own technology. Sberbank said late on Thursday it has acquired a 41.9% stake in Element from private equity fund Systema AFKS and unidentified minority shareholders for $355.73 million. All three companies are targeted by Western sanctions over the war. Russian newspaper Kommersant, citing sources, reported that under the deal, Element's manufacturing assets will be integrated into Sberbank's tech arm. Sberbank, which rebranded as Sber in 2020, now calls itself a technology company. Sberbank said it will make a buyout offer to minority shareholders, but it now looks set for a showdown with state-owned defense and technology conglomerate Rostec, which owns 41.6% of Element and was quoted by Russian news outlets as saying it will not sell its stake. Rostec, headed by Sergei Shemezov, a longtime friend of Russian President Vladimir Putin, helped create Element, merging its own electronics manufacturing assets with those of Systema. Moscow has stepped up long-range strikes on Ukraine using drones and missiles as it presses its position amid US-brokered efforts to end the conflict. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Thursday, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called for increased scrutiny on Russia's tech imports, saying it would not be able to produce missiles without critical components sourced from China, Europe, the United States. Following Thursday's announcement of the Element stake purchase, Sberbank CEO German Gref took part in a meeting on the microelectronics industry chaired by Putin at the Kremlin. He added strengthening Russia's military capacity and advances in artificial intelligence and quantum computing were only possible with a domestic manufacturing base.
We now take a look at international affairs. Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez says Spain will not take part in the Board of Peace initiative launched by U.S. President Donald Trump to tackle global conflicts shortly following an EU emergency summit in Brussels.
Washington says the body will help broker and monitor ceasefires, organize security arrangements, and coordinate rebuilding in places emerging from war. The concept stems from Trump's Gaza peace plan. Missing from the board's launch ceremony held at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland's Davos were traditional U.S. allies such as Canada, Britain, and all European Union members except Hungary and Bulgaria. Sanchez cited consistency with Madrid's commitment to international law, the UN, and multilateralism as the main reasons it was declining to participate. Israel has joined the board along with Middle Eastern countries such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Touching on the U.S. administration, Sanchez said it was, quote, not respecting international law and straining the transatlantic relationship between the United States and the European Union like never before, unquote.
Attendees say the rift between the United States, its European allies, and artificial intelligence dominated the World Economic Forum, or WEF, 2026.
Asked about the highlights of the week on the last day of the forum, WEF attendee from South Africa, Patrick Kolakani Dlamini, said President Donald Trump's turning on his traditional allies is a titanic shift in terms of the world order as we know.
A mixture of geopolitics that can't be ignored. At the same time, a lot of really interesting dialogue around artificial intelligence. The next generation of that dialogue is not only what energy needs does it have and what potential does it have, but also what are the risks. economics and also what is the return on investment. So beyond the geopolitics, there's a lot of other things.
Attendee from Ireland, Francisco Cesato, said this year was about a mixture of geopolitics that can't be ignored, but added that dialogue about AI was prominent too. Tensions over Greenland between Donald Trump and Europe neared boiling point this week. Trump abruptly stepped back from his threat of tariffs on 8 European nations, ruled out using force to take Greenland, a semi-autonomous territory of NATO ally Denmark, and suggested a deal was in sight to end the dispute. As part of the trip, Trump was also working to build support from dozens of world leaders to join his World of Peace initiative aimed at resolving global conflicts, even as diplomats say it could harm the work of the United Nations. In some of his toughest remarks to key allies of Kyiv, Ukraine's Zelensky used his speech in Davos to urge Europe not to degrade itself by failing to stand up to Russian aggression and Trump's aspiration to control Greenland.
Thousands of supporters of South African opposition politician Julius Malema gathers outside a court as the Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF, party leader waited his sentence for firing a rifle in the air at a rally in 2018.
Malema was convicted in October of charges including unlawful possession of a firearm, discharging a weapon in a public place, and reckless endangerment of people or property. He had pleaded not guilty, arguing the gun was a toy. Malema faces a possible prison sentence of 15 years. However, the sentence could also range from a fine to community service or a suspended sentence. EFF supporters outside the East London Magistrates Court held aloft placards reading Malema is not guilty. Many wore party regalia, including the EFF's trademark red berets. It was not immediately clear whether Malema would be told his sentence during Friday's pre-sentencing hearing or the sentencing would be deferred to a later date. But EFF officials said his followers wanted to turn out in numbers to support Malema in case. The far-left EFF is the fourth biggest party in South Africa's parliament, with roughly 10% of seats in the lower house. It advocates nationalizing mines and seizing land from white farmers, which critics fear would threaten Africa's most industrialized economy. Malema is one of the most prominent politicians in South Africa. He commands a strong following among the youth and those who argue successive governments have not done enough to address stark racial inequalities that have persisted in 3 decades since the end of apartheid.
Moving on to world sports, FIFA President Gianni Infantino defends the tournament's handling of ticket sales as he boasted of a record 500 million ticket requests ahead of the 2026 World Cup to be played across North America.
In comments made at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Infantino said he was hammered for sky-high ticket prices for the tournament.
Normally you get like 7, 8, 9, 10 million ticket requests, mostly for the final, of course, so you have to make some draws for some games. This time, we received over 500 million ticket requests. 500 million ticket requests. 500 million ticket requests. I mean, this is something not... And the tickets are not cheap. The tickets are not cheap. We were hammered. I was hammered, I should say, because of the ticket prices, because they are so expensive.
FIFA have been heavily criticized by fans who feel priced out of the tournament as ticket prices were often set at multiple times their sale value in relative comparison to previous tournaments. The World Soccer governing body also embraced US-style ticket reselling and created an exclusive FIFA platform for ticket resales, a step that Infantino admitted would likely price tickets even higher. Infantino said most applicants were from the United States, with Germany and England fans also demanding many tickets. The new format, 48-team World Cup, has been criticized by fans for its steep ticket prices and for the US government's increasingly stronger immigration measures that could leave fans who buy tickets with difficulties obtaining visas to travel.
Concluding with light news, Frankfurt's Bonobo family has a new addition, Bonobo baby Faro. The infant was born on December 7th to 24-year-old mother Mixie.
This is her 4th baby. The zoo now has 18 of the great ape species. Faro is named after a national park in Cameroon. Little Pharaoh will stay with his mother forever. Whilst females tend to leave the tribe, boys cling to their mothers. Even when they are being sent to other zoos for breeding, his mum will follow. According to Frankfurt Zoo, bonobos live in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and are an endangered species, with a decline in population mainly due to loss of habitat and poaching. According to the zoo, the Frankfurt Zoological Society works closely with the Congolese National Park Authority in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.